HQN Books and HarlequinAudio present Luck of the Draw by B.J. Daniels. Performed by Todd Mclaren. Chapter 1. Garrett Sterling brought his horse up short as something across the deep ravine caught his eye. A fierce wind swayed the towering pines against the mountainside as he dug out his binoculars. He could smell the rain in the air. Dark clouds had gathered over the top of Whitefish Mountain. If he didn't turn back soon, he would get caught in the summer thunderstorm. Not that he minded it all that much, except the construction crew working at the guest ranch would be anxious for the weekend and their paychecks. Most in these parts didn't buy into auto deposit. Even as the wind threatened to send his Stetson flying, and he felt the first few drops of rain dampen his long-sleeved western shirt, he couldn't help being curious about what he'd glimpsed. He'd seen something moving through the trees on the other side of the ravine. He raised the binoculars to his eyes, waiting for them to focus. What the hell? When he'd caught movement, he'd been expecting elk or maybe a deer. If he was lucky, a bear. He hadn't seen a grizzly in this area in a long time, but it was always a good idea to know if one was around. But what had caught his eye was human. He was too startled to breathe for a moment. A large man moved through the pines. He wasn't alone. He had hold of a woman's wrist in what appeared to be a death grip and was dragging her behind him. She seemed to be struggling to stay on her feet. It was what he saw in the man's other hand that had stolen his breath. A gun. Garrett couldn't believe what he was seeing. Surely he was wrong. Through the binoculars, he tried to keep track of the two, but he kept losing them as they moved through the thick pines. His pulse pounded as he considered what to do. His options were limited. He was too far away to intervene, and he had a steep ravine between him and the man with the gun. Nor could he call for help, as if help could arrive in time. There was no cell phone coverage this far back in the mountains outside of Whitefish, Montana. Through the binoculars, he saw the woman burst out of the trees and realized that she'd managed to break away from the man. For a moment, Garrett thought she was going to get away. But the man was larger and faster and was on her quickly, catching her and jerking her around to face him. He hit her with the gun, then put the barrel to her head as he jerked her to him. "No!" Garrett cried, the sound lost in the wind and crackle of thunder in the distance. Dropping the binoculars into his saddle, he drew his sidearm from the holster at his hip and fired a shot into the air. It echoed across the wide ravine, startling his horse. As he struggled to holster the pistol again and grab the binoculars, a shot from across the ravine filled the air, echoing back at him. And then another, and another, and another. 4 shots, all in quick succession. He winced at each one as he hurriedly grabbed up the binoculars again and lifted them to his eyes. His hand shook as he tried to locate the spot on the mountainside across the ravine, where he'd last seen the two people. With dread, he saw what appeared to be a leg on the ground, sticking out of the tall grass, where the two had been only moments ago. He quickly looked around for the man. In the dense trees, he caught the blur of someone running back in the direction where he'd originally spotted the two. He focused again on what he could see of the body on the ground. The leg hadn't moved. In the distance, he heard the faint sound of a car engine roaring to life. He swung the binoculars to the end of the ridgeline and saw a dark blue SUV speeding away. It was too far away to get more than that. It quickly disappeared in the trees. Garrett swore. At moments like this, he wished he had cell phone coverage on the mountain, but his father had always argued that being off the grid was the appeal of Sterling's Montana guest ranch.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?